record-tying night in Cleveland. The Indians have matched the American League record. They have won 20 in a row.
Amazing. The Indians on the verge of making history. Meanwhile, Robin, Kobe Bryant already making some history. Did you see the news that the Lakers are not only going to retire Kobe's first number 8, also 24? And I think we can all agree that the most iconic numbers in sports to be worn are 42 for Jackie Robinson and 23 for Michael Jordan. And of course, LeBron James has added on to it. Not much of a debate there. But when it comes to the third most iconic number in sports, what is it?
How about 24 as far as productivity goes across sports? But maybe it is 8. With Kobe Bryant right there, you have Troy Aikman. And if you cheat a little bit, you can add NFL players who have 8 in their number. So like AD, Jerry Rice, there you go.
I don't know about that. We're stretching a little bit. If I'm going to go with iconic numbers, and we're asking you on Facebook Live, outside of 23 and 42, which I think are unmatched, what's the third most iconic number in sports? To me, I'm going to have to go 10, because in soccer, 10 is given to the very best player on the team. So there's no doubt about it when you have Pele and you have Messi and Maradona and Wayne Rooney and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, one of my all-time favorites. They are going to be iconic just because that's what the number represents and entails. If I'm just going to go with another number that's mostly for American sports, I think 32 is one of the best. You have Jim Brown, you got Magic Johnson, Sandy Koufax, Karl Malone. 32 is something that I feel like you have a lot to live up to if you want to wear 32.
Meanwhile, somewhere out there, hockey guy is screaming, 99!
Of course, 99. Well, here's another one. How about 12? I mean, you have Brady, who, listen, I mean, I think 12 is now synonymous with him, but also with Aaron Rodgers. Jim Kelly, personal favorite again. John Stockton. It's like the all-white athlete. Best number is 12. But I think that Brady being so prolific, I think, is also added to that iconic number.
So I'm interested to see what people say about this when they're commenting on Facebook right now. I think we have some coming in at the moment, actually.
Yeah, let's see. 34, also Walter Payton, Bo Jackson, who I forgot and probably should have to walk off the set for forgetting those two. But yeah, keep them coming. We want to know, obviously, 42, 23, they're not going to be matched. But what about after that?
Now back to the Indians streak. When I think of the Indians winning streak, I see this at the beginning. And I see this now. In real life motion. 20 straight games in any sport is great.
That's scary.
But one could argue it is even tougher in baseball due to its randomness at times. Where do you think this streak compares to other streaks all time?
Okay, you have to narrow this because there are so many different types of streaks that happen in sports. So if I'm going to go with the Indians, I'm going to say another team or individual that did something in a season, because we have things that go over multiple seasons, you know, the Spurs making the playoffs, or, you know, tennis players who have gone over multiple slam seasons, continuing winning streaks, things like that. So for me, I'm looking at the Lakers winning 33 games. That was the 1971-1972 season. And then individually, Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. And then I'll bring it to Gretzky, the 51 games recording a point. For me, those two individually, and then the Lakers with the 33-game winning streak, I think those are my favorite and I think the best of all time.
It's tough to break down by sport because you can make various arguments within the sport. Baseball, I said before, the random nature. Football, you're basically getting every team's best shot week to week. So it could be 16 in a row by the Patriots or the Dolphins. I do think sometimes those regular season streaks get undervalued a little bit because we crave championships so much. It's not exactly a streak, but winning 73 out of 82 games is mind-boggling when you really think about it.
Yeah, but like you said, it's not a streak. And that's the thing. I mean, we've seen so many unbelievable accomplishments in sports. You need a way to kind of sift through the best of the very best because there's just so many things out there. I guess my question to you is this helping the MLB season? And not that it needs help in individual markets. We know that baseball does very well. But when it comes to grabbing the attention nationally, sometimes baseball lags behind other sports like football and the NBA. Has this gotten you more dialed in to the baseball season?
Well, anything that's starting the conversation. Sometimes baseball can be more fun to talk about than watch at times, I think. But the storylines there are what will pull people in, as evidenced by last year. I mean, people can say whatever they want about baseball and it needs to adapt to the times, but the Cubs captured people's imaginations. That playoff run put the ratings up. So when they can get those storylines, maybe that's what they need to appeal to, because it is an increasingly regional sport where people care about their team and there's so much programming, and we're always searching for that next megastar. Maybe that's not the answer how they do it. It's just playing on the storylines and the moments.
Yeah, but if you're going to wait for another moment like the Cubs, you're not going to find it. I mean, there's nothing else.
I'll see you in 100 years.
That was it. There's nothing more. Besides that, we're just going to talk about bat flips and hairdos and whatever else can tick people off.
Superstitions in baseball go hand in hand, so as the Indians continue their streak, there may be an unlikely reason for it: baseball art. We sat down with Cleveland's starting pitcher, Carlos Carrasco, who showed off his good luck charm masterpieces. Watch this.
Here we got Francisco Lindor. The hair is coming from inside the ball, so you just kind of peel every scene, just peel the ball, and they just kind of do the hair from here. This one's coming. This is good at detail because he's always carrying a lot of necklace, even with the teeth too. So he's really wide, smiling. So they come out pretty good. I learned this on the off season when I started doing the homework with my kids. So something that I love to do, something different. It's a lot of detail. So we're trying to find that little detail each guy will be doing and kind of let them know we care about them. Bauer is another guy, he's drawn the face. I think it's pretty good to see him enjoying, kind of do the same, something different out of the baseball. This is the first guy. We got Jose Ramirez right here. This one, they have a nice detail, so he always got the tobacco on the sides, the necklace right here. It's kind of fun. When we started making this ball, he was hitting like 275, something like that. And when we started making the ball, he ended up like 331. He made the All-Star game. And when we saw that, well, okay, let's do the whole team. Right here, we got Corey Kluber with the Cy Young. If you can see here, the eyes is kind of red. His nickname is Clubbox. So pretty much we did that, trying to trick your mind, doing something different out of baseball, Sometimes coming to the stadium and I talk to Bauer, my teammates, who we gonna make today? Who's gonna be the lucky guy today? So kind of get in there. We're gonna do the 25 guys, and then we're gonna do the staff too.
Of course, SI released their top 100 NBA players heading into this season, and we're still waiting to see where exactly James Harden is going to land. I caught up with a 5-time All-Star yesterday. My next guest is a 4-time All-NBA selection, a 5-time All-Star entering his 9th NBA season. James Harden, good enough to join us on behalf of EA's NBA Live 18, which comes out September 15th. And James, you graced the cover of this video game. What does it mean to you to have your first solo cover?
It means a lot. It means a lot. Credit EA for helping me with this opportunity. It's a blessing, especially growing up playing live and playing video games. To be a feature cover athlete, it's definitely a blessing and a great experience for me.
Another accolade you can add to your impressive resume. We're going to talk more about the video game in just a little bit, but I want to start with the latest on the court. You and the other NBA All-Stars playing pickup in New York City. Saw a nice kick-out pass from you to Chris Paul, your new teammate. Now, you spoke recently about building trust with Chris to share the same backcourt. I'm curious, does that happen in a pickup game?
It happens over time. I think from pickup, from being, with each other off the court, dinner, just getting to know each other. That's where it builds. That's where the trust builds, the communication builds. That way, when it gets on the court, everything gets smoother. It relates, and it just it's more fluent. But the summer's been great. It's been a lot of great things happen this summer. And so I'm excited for the season to start.
In terms of your roles, you recently gave an interview. You said, quote, "It will work itself out." And I'm just curious if you thought that same way about Dwight Howard, too. And what did you learn from trying to mesh with Dwight that perhaps you're keeping in mind with Chris Paul as a new teammate?
Yeah, they're different positions. So, I can learn a little bit more from Chris just because he's been doing playmaking his whole career. And, he can create opportunities for me, as well. So I think that's, in a sense, is different. They're both obviously really, really talented players, but different positions. So, ball handling, mostly me and Chris are going to do it. And, Mike is going to put us in positions to be successful. And we're going to have to go out there and make the plays and get our teammates involved and try to score the ball as much as we can.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And, of course, Carmelo Anthony there, Hoodie Melo, has become something of like summer pickup game lore. Is facing Hoodie Melo different than facing Carmelo on an NBA court?
Melo is Melo, man. Hoodie or not. He's Carmelo Anthony with the hood or without the hood.
Yeah, expecting a lot of scoring from you guys. Now, of course, until a team challenges the Warriors, it's their world. We're all just living in it. Of all the teams, though, that added pieces this offseason, do you think the Rockets match up best with the Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were, I think second in scoring last year, right behind them, and so, we have the offensive abilities. We added some more defensive-minded guys on our team this year. T.J. Tucker and Luke, Tarek Black, obviously CP. So, obviously the Warriors have been to the finals 3 years in a row, and they're the team on the high hill right now. We just got to try to find a way to be competitive with them and give ourselves a chance.
We know that you're working on your third shoe for Adidas. That's really impressive. Just this week, Steph Curry was asked about Kevin Durant's recent comment, and this was the quote, "Nobody wants to play in Under Armours." Now, Curry dismissed the statement and any possibility that it would cause a rift between the teammates, but I'm just curious, James, from your point of view, and pull back the curtain for us, just how influential are shoe companies behind the scenes in the NBA?
They're very influential in fashion. So they're influential, and then you have the players that drives it. And so it depends on the player it is. Each player, each person are individually different and have their own swag. And so that swag and that person is what drives each brand. I know Adidas, we do things different, and we just got some different kind of swag over there.
EA's NBA Live. Curious if you play as yourself, or are there other teams that you like to play with?
Both. I'm a gamer, so I just we random. We pick random when we play, and whoever it lands on, that's when you got to roll with. So the live is just different than the previous years. They got different features on there. Feature called the One. Obviously outside and just be the best one-on-one player you can be. And then they have the Drew League on there. I think the Drew League is worldwide, and everybody sees it on YouTube and clips like that. But there's a feature on there where you actually can play in the Drew League and be a part of it as well. Especially for kids, overseas or in different cities that won't ever get that opportunity. You can actually be a part of it.
That's fantastic. And finally, want to end here. Really commend you donating $1 million to Hurricane Harvey relief efforts in Houston. And I'm just curious, this was such a devastating storm that ravaged that city. What was the toughest thing that you witnessed in the aftermath of the hurricane?
Well, thank God, my family is good, but it's devastating to see how it affected the entire city. I don't think anybody thought it was going to be that serious and that crazy, but it did. And, Houston strong, minor setback for a major comeback, and the city's going to bounce back, better than ever. I'm a part of it, so I met up with Mayor and just try to do whatever I can to get back to the city to make them feel me and know that I'm there with them through the tough times. And so it's kind of a tough time right now, but we're going to bounce back, and it's going to be even better. The city's going to be on a high note soon.
EA's NBA Live 18 comes out September 15th. James Harden, really appreciate your time.
You heard Harden there talking about a lot of things, including the sneaker game. And Russell Westbrook, he's had a good couple of months as he re-upped with Brand Jordan for 10 years in what is the most lucrative deal for the brand to date. Maggie, is Westbrook the best face for Michael Jordan's brand?
I think so, because he's going to be making a shoe for on the court, but off the court as well. And I think that's where Russell Westbrook has an appeal that really no other NBA player has. He is so crossed over into the fashion world that he could design a shoe that's like the next Chuck Taylor or Vans or something that everyone is wearing, whether it's men, women, kids, athletic, non-athletic. He's got that ability because his name is now so synonymous with fashion and clothing. And so if I'm Jordan Brand, I'm thinking I just brought in an entire new revenue stream that I may have never had before when everyone just thought of us as being a basketball shoe.
Here's another reason he fits Brand Jordan, his scowl. Right? If you're ranking the top 3 scowls in NBA history, not necessarily the top 3 players, but number 1, and a lot of people's list as player too, is Michael Jordan, right? People like Michael Jordan's face and that he was angry playing. Same thing went for Kobe Bryant, and now I think the same thing goes for Russell Westbrook. There is a contingent of fans that like that he plays angry, and that fits into Michael Jordan's brand.
Hasn't re-upped yet with Oklahoma City. Now he's a big brand ambassador for Jordan. Do you think that impacts his next move?
I don't think so, because as we're talking about it right now, that can travel. That's up to him individually for his own life decisions, what else he wants to do. But as far as getting this stuff out there, I mean, he just won the MVP, and we're talking about him signing this deal. They signed the deal knowing where he was playing.
I know, but I was just talking to James Harden. I said, peel back the curtain for us, just how influential are sneaker companies in the NBA? And he said, very influential. And I think there's always this sort of subtext of Kevin Durant going to the Golden State Warriors because Steph Curry was so big in that market and is still, obviously, earned it, but he's Under Armour, and Nike really wanted a way to get into that team and be synonymous with the Warriors. Now, it depends how much you think that the sneaker companies are playing the great and powerful Oz behind the curtain, but it's something to think about, and they may want someone very big in LA.
Though Michael Jordan doesn't own a team in a huge market, it is in a smaller one.
Yeah, but it's not, they're wearing Jordan Brand at the University of Michigan. I mean, at this point, it's definitely everywhere. Meanwhile, Katie's personal revenge tour against every hater, from anonymous Twitter egg to TV blowhard, continues. Katie has taken all these criticisms and put them on the bottom of his new shoe, the KD 10 Finals shoes. They should be called the KD Hater 2.0s, after the cupcake shoes would have been the Hater 2.1s, or excuse me, 1.0s. I botched that. Robin, do you like the statement, or are Katie's slights getting stale?
I like the fact that he does this. Sometimes I don't understand why he does this. Sometimes it seems like an undue persecution complex. It's not as if Kevin Durant isn't celebrated as an all-time great player. And when people call his move to Golden State soft or whatnot, that comes with the territory of making that move. I'm sorry, I don't care. You can make the move. You had the free agency, you won the championship, you won the finals MVP. You're awesome, more power to you, but you did go to a 73-win team. That actually happened. So Durant, I love him clapping back at people on Twitter. I love that it brings us content, but there are times where you go, Katie, you really have to take everything personally.
Well, it makes it seem like he's losing, and I'm reminded of Chris Rock when he says, if you're losing, then who's winning? I mean, you've got it all. You just won finals and finals MVP. You have a ring. Everybody loves you. I don't know where, I mean, the hate is going to come on social media. That's not media. Social media doesn't mean basketball media, doesn't mean sports media, and I know there's some people who have criticized him, but like you said, Robin, I mean, he opened himself up for it. At this point, though, I mean, go high. Like, when they go low, go high, you know? What do you have to deal with these Twitter trolls for? You went to Golden State, accomplished what you wanted to accomplish, and I feel like that means game over. And I feel like in a lot of ways, maybe he thinks this is some kind of brilliant marketing tool, but he's keeping these Twitter trolls alive because it's very obvious that they're getting under his skin. So if you are someone who likes getting under an athlete's skin, you know that you have an open vessel here for Kevin Durant because he's clearly reading all his newspaper clippings and he's checking his mentions.
Yeah, he hears us, right?
Yeah.
So, Katie, tell us what you think.
Hi.
You know,
we like your shoe.
Please at me.
Please at me.
The SI 100 continues to roll on as we are creeping toward the reveal of the top 10 NBA players. I talked to Ben Golliver, who was instrumental in crafting the list, about some players who didn't rise to the occasion and some guys who we should watch out for on next year's list. This week, Sports Illustrated is unveiling its top 100 NBA players list. Throughout the week, check out SI.com for the full list and analysis. But right now, I'm joined by top 100 impresario Ben Golliver to go over the biggest risers and fallers. Is there anyone that you expected to see or wanted to see rise and didn't and disappointed?
You know, usually it's the young guys, right? Like if we're talking about, say, Aaron Gordon or Julius Randle or D'Angelo Russell, these players who get a lot of hype online. They get a lot of excitement going because, you know, when they look good, the flashes are really exciting. But can they do it consistently? Can they continue to make big impacts towards winning? And a guy like Aaron Gordon, you know, he was really played out of position last year in Orlando. Probably didn't get to show totally what he could do until after the All-Star break. I would love to see him get into the list next year. I really like his skill set. Julius Randle, he's kind of been a tease, right? Like you think he's just going to be this big, beastly guy who's going to just bowl over his opponents. And in actuality, when he's out there, he's missing a lot of mid-range jumpers. He's forcing a lot of tough stuff inside. And then defensively, he's just kind of been a train wreck. And a player like D'Angelo Russell, everybody thought he was going to be the franchise guy in LA 2 years ago. He's already been swapped out for Lonzo Ball, the latest model, and now he's got to sort of resurrect his career in Brooklyn. So there are a lot of young players who are starting to get into this mix. They're kind of on the fringes of this list who could make big jumps next season if they put together the type of years we've been expecting from them.
You mentioned Lonzo Ball. I'm sure LeVar would say, why isn't he number one on the list? But who's on your watch list for next year?
Well, he's right at the top of the watch list. Just to clarify, we don't put any rookies on the top 100. We want to see them prove it. I mean, we're really big on being able to say, hey, like, what have you done for us, you know, in this league?
Playing actually in the NBA, sure.
Exactly right. And so Lonzo's going to be on that list. There's no question. Another guy, Ben Simmons. I mean, he's technically a rookie this year, but he missed all of last year, so he's a little bit older. I'd be shocked if he wasn't on the list next year. And you could also look at Brandon Ingram, another Lakers sort of budding star. He had a lot of progress at Las Vegas Summer League. You know, he showed in his one game there that he really has a more filled out offensive skill set and scoring ability. I'd like to see him translate that against NBA level competition. I think he can do it.
Okay, here's some Twitter reaction to the top 100 from around the league. Rockets GM Daryl Morey weighing in. He says the ESPN and SI top 100 rankings have been seemingly random number generators. So far, I will say this in our own defense. There is a blurb on every single pick and every single ranking, so you can see but Ben Golliver and Rob Mahoney, they're putting their names on it. They said, this is how we were thinking about it. They show their work, so to speak.
And doesn't Daryl Morey like numbers? 3 is greater than 2, Daryl Morey. You taught everyone that.
I know. I just wonder if he doesn't even think that MVPs should be given out anymore, right?
Well, because he thinks winning should be valued. I mean, he seems to be a little bit all over the place. Really good GM, though.
Yeah, he is a great GM, and he signed Chris Paul, so that's really cool. Toronto All-Star DeMar DeRozan had this to say. Whew. FSI. Oh, no. Wait, what? Not us. No, come on, DeMar DeRozan. All right, he's 32 on this list. He's clearly upset about it. He's telling us to go F ourselves. What do you think?
I think he should be a little higher on the list, actually. I mean, this is the NBA, and he can score in bunches. Yeah. In the NBA. Those guys are sometimes tough to quantify if they don't have the all-around games, but it can get undervalued in a sense. Like one of his nicknames around the internet is Bootleg Kobe, and that can be taken as a compliment if you want to, right? Because he's one of those guys who can get into the mid-range and still get his and score for his team. So I would have had him around probably 25.
Okay, a perennial all-star. Blazers guard CJ McCollum said this: we need to start ranking these weak-ass journalists with descriptions of their strengths, weaknesses, and ability to make up quote-unquote sources. CJ, I thought you wanted to be one of us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand taking offense to player rankings. If you can't rank players, there's no point in having sports talk. But his idea is a very good one. CJ McCollum, go right ahead.
I know, rank us.
We'll do a video for you, everything. You know, if we had CJ McCollum's list of the top 20, top 10, top 100, he'd really have to do his homework. But sports journalists, that would do well, right?
But here's the thing, it's just going to be really hard to quantify, right? If you're going to go on like stories broken, you know, things like that, I think our own Lee Jenkins, Woj, people like that are going to have to go number one or in the very, very top. But like, we have numbers that we can talk about with these players. What numbers are there really for reporters?
Web clicks,
yeah,
ratings.
I know, but you can't go with clicks.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the internet
There's a lot of bots out there.
Bad stuff out there. Not this show, though. Meanwhile, McCollum has done work for the Players Tribune, says that he wants to work in the media after his playing days. And our own Matt Dollinger recently caught up with McCollum to talk about how the league is covered. Watch this.
He's like a ghost. Some people know who he is. Some people only know him by, the draft and bombs being dropped. But I try to stay as close as I can to him so I know my situation. Yeah, I think journalism is a form of communication, a form of exchanging information, and he does all those things. Obviously, he communicates really well, really loud, and he's always on TV. So I would say he's a form of journalism. That's tough. I listen to Woj's podcast. I listen to Reddick's podcast when he had his. So it just depends on the move. Somebody might send me one, I might check it out. Dan Ravel. Okay. He's cool, laid back. Obviously, he has a great company. He's doing things really well, and nothing like a legend, leading the company and you being able to kind of follow blueprints. Ernie, Shaq, Kenny, Chuck, but that's just off the top of my head. I like them all. It depends on the moment, the mood. I'll go local, Chris Haynes when he was with us.
I think it's really funny, the music choice for that video, because we're just talking about the weak-ass journalists, yet we get the highbrow sort of Beethoven treatment. That's pretty cool. Turning to the UFC now. Jon Jones, well, he's going to be gone for a while. Jones's B sample from his latest failed drug test came back positive, which means this is his second failed test for a banned substance for the former light heavyweight champ. Jones has yet to be stripped of his title, but he recently won back from Daniel Cormier, but we do expect that to happen very soon. Meanwhile, yesterday, middleweight champion Michael Bisping stopped by our studio, and I asked him about Jon Jones.
I think it's fair to say that he definitely has tarnished his legacy. I think he will always be remembered for the stunning performances that he put on. I mean, when he first broke into the UFC, he was incredible, absolutely unstoppable. Yes, outside of the octagon, made some very, very bad decisions. And unfortunately, this is one that isn't going to go away for a long time. I think he's looking at a 4-year suspension. And it's fair to say there's no smoke without fire. This isn't his first time. So I guess... and we've got to see how this thing unfolds, but it's not looking good.
You mentioned 4-year suspension. Should he be banned from the sport permanently?
I believe so. If you have a history of taking performance-enhancing drugs, I think there's no place for it. This is a vicious sport. It's not for everybody. We're not trying to put a ball into a basket. We're trying to, you can dress it up however you want, but we're trying to beat our opponents either into submission or knock them out. Performance-enhancing drugs have no place in this sport.
Okay, that was a fellow fighter. Do you think that Jones should be banned now after his second failed test for a banned substance? And of course, he had some cocaine issues, street drug stuff earlier in his career.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, for the former, not the latter, because you're dealing with a sport, as he just touched on, where someone's life could be in danger. Their future, their livelihood, at worst maybe, could be in danger. So I don't think you can continue to put him out there. And it's a shame because he at least appears to be naturally a prodigious talent and maybe the guy in that sport who moves the needle the most right now outside of Conor McGregor. I
agree with you that I think that he should be banned for life. I mean, you can't go 3 strikes here. What are we waiting for? It's just too... The sport is too brutal to have someone on performance-enhancing drugs. But I'll ask you this question. Right now, even with all of Jon Jones's issues, would you watch him fight Brock Lesnar, who also has his own issues with failing a drug test? Would you?
Yes.
Yes, right. Okay. And I think a lot of people would also say yes. And that leads me to believe something, because it's undeniable that after the McGregor-Mayweather fight, the calculus for what it means to be a successful UFC fighter or MMA fighter changed because of the big payday that Conor got. Michael Bisping also said in that interview later on, a different part, said, we're prize fighters. We can try to dress it up however we want. We're fighting for money. So in my opinion, maybe Jon Jones should go out there and say, I don't need you, UFC. I don't care about your rules. I don't care about USADA. Me and Brock Lesnar are going to create our own promotion. We're going to go fight somewhere. We'll definitely find someone to carry the fight. We'll definitely find someone to market the fight. We can create our own merchandise. We can have all of our own revenue streams. And if I'm thinking that way, perhaps the UFC might be in a little trouble here. Not short term, but long term, because it seems like the weight divisions, the titles, they don't mean anything anymore because guys just want to get paid, and I totally understand that. So you might as well just pick a name out of a hat, get the most buzz you can out of a fight, and then hopefully go to a movie set and to get a golden parachute out of fighting.
Talent is the most important thing in sports. I mean, I've even seen people construct the argument that NFL players should do something similar if they hate the league so much. But in this particular sport, I think you can look at boxing as an example. That works, what you're saying, for guys, for stars, for people who already are known. It doesn't work for everybody. And boxing's biggest problem, in my opinion, is there is no they associated with boxing. You say boxing. You don't say UFC like you do with mixed martial arts. People don't say MMA. Same thing goes with football and the NFL, NBA, basketball, and MLB and baseball. So without that structure, so people know what to follow, know what the rankings are, know that the fights are going to get made, that they're going to be sanctioned under certain guidelines, it's hard for it to be a sustainable model rather than a series of one-offs.
But I'll challenge you with this. Let's play this out a generation. We know so much more about head trauma. We know the effects and long-term effects of fighting, just let alone just, some hits, not even get elbowing, kicked in the head. All the fight game is so brutal. I just wonder if fewer people are going to be entering the pool to begin with. So are you actually seeing the great fighters fight each other? And do you need this whole league? Because at the end of the day, don't we just want essentially what the Roman gladiators were doing, which is like a man versus a lion or whatever we can get closest to that? I'm just not sure as many people are going to be fighting as we move forward because we all know how dangerous it is. We can't put our head in the sand anymore.
Part of it is the spectacle, as we saw with Mayweather and McGregor. But there is a romance about the craft of it. And you see workouts based on fighting and all that. And I would counter, I don't have the studies in front of me or anything like that, but when you're comparing mixed martial arts and boxing to football, obviously there's head trauma in those sports. Obviously they're dangerous sports, but the fights don't happen constantly, right? They're separated by several months at a time. So I don't know the data points yet there. No. It's common sense that there would be head trauma and be dangerous, but we don't have the evidence in front of us like we do with the NFL.
Sure. I mean, there are fewer fights, but you can almost guarantee yourself a concussion in every single one of them, which may not be true in every single football game.
And that's why I get a little concerned when fans get so bloodthirsty, like in the Mayweather-McGregor fight, and say that it shouldn't be stopped. Hey, we know what we know about head trauma. Don't let Floyd Mayweather punch Conor McGregor in the head when he's not defending himself.
Yeah, and I have an issue with mixed martial arts referees, but that's going to have to be for another show. We're going to leave it here for now. Thanks so much for watching us. Thanks for commenting. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time with a whole new slate of topics, but we will be talking more about that top 100 list.
Top 10 revealed tomorrow.
Ooh, that's exciting. Right here on SI Now. You're not going to want to miss that. Of course, keep it locked to SI.com for news and headlines and commentary, and follow us on Twitter because we'll be posting clips of the show right there when we're done. Have a good Wednesday.
That's the day. You got it.